Looks like the beginnings of a unicorn stampede.
I fell in love with the last game, Fate Extella The Umbral Star, almost entirely thanks to the soundtrack. It was just amazing. The rest of the game though, while okay for a bit of mindless fun, left a little to be desired. If you're unfamiliar with the Fate Extella series of games, they are basically Musou games, like Dynasty Warriors. I happen to like Dynasty Warriors, so Fate Extella The Umbral Star felt a little cheap in the gameplay department. It was very repetitive, even more so than most Musou games, and it just wasn't very exciting. I'm happy to say though that Fate Extella Link is a massive improvement. I actually couldn't tear myself away the last few days. It was so addictive that I had to postpone my Princess Guide review until after I did this one. Gameplay predominantly takes place on the battlefield, which is split up into different sectors. You're able to capture enemy sectors by destroying the strongest enemies in the sector, known as aggressors. Likewise, enemies can take control of your sectors by doing the same. The big difference between Warriors games and Fate Extella is that you don't have long travel times between objectives or things you need to capture. Travelling is almost entirely done by zipping through a jet stream between sectors. In fact, it's for this very reason that I think Fate Extella Link is a brilliant entry into the Musou genre. A big reason for Dynasty Warriors and other Musou games just not clicking with people is confusion or lack of focus. You've got an objective, sure, but you're mostly free to run around doing whatever, and some people often mistake the goal of Musou games to be mindlessly killing lots of enemies, but in reality you're supposed to mostly skip the grunts. Fate Extella Link is very focused and you're pretty much constantly chasing specific objectives. You also learn very early on to aim straight for the aggressors, and once you've taken a sector, the enemy grunts simply disappear. Culling these enemy troops also happens to be a lot of fun. The combat has a lot to offer and a lot of variety. There are a ton of different characters in the game that all feel different to play. They all have different weapons, abilities, skills, combos, and their own unique noble phantasm, which is essentially a big finisher. Basic and heavy attacks can be weaved into basic combos, and holding down your right trigger will bring up 4 abilities which can be customized and swapped out in between stages. Killing enemies builds up your drive meter, which you can trigger once full to give you a power boost and a one-use special ability. Killing enemies in drive mode increases your noble phantasm meter, which I call the finisher for the simple reason that it attacks an entire sector for massive damage and essentially instantly captures it. There are also a bunch of other combat mechanics that will come up naturally while playing. Hitting a boss class enemy with a strong enough skill will break their guard and allow all the heroes in the current sector to hammer the living shit out of them. Objectives and mechanics vary between stages as well. Sometimes the map will be glitched out due to jamming, requiring you to head off into uncharted territory to find out who or whatever is jamming the signal. My only criticism of the gameplay in general is that occasionally a stage will pretend it's Return of the King and have 12 endings. You go through a bunch of objectives, take every sector, kill the boss, and you think you're done, but then another boss appears. So you kill that boss and surely now it's over, but no, another boss or something else pops up. It's not that it stops being fun, it just creates this weird disconnect where you think you're about to be done when you're actually only halfway through the stage. Completing a stage brings up a little reward screen that gives you a ranking for various things like sectors taken, damage inflicted, and whatnot. Getting an overall ranking of EX is what you are aiming for in order to get Mystic Code recipes. They are equipable items that give you limited use buffs or heals during a battle. You'll also be shown all the installable skills you acquired in the level and whether or not you completed any of the side missions. The story is carried out predominantly through visual novel-like segments in between stages. I'm not jived to the Fate universe, having only played the games, but I found it easy enough to follow and enjoyable at times. I'm sure fans of the franchise as a whole will get more out of it though. Other than the story and duking it out on the battlefield, you'll find yourself in the little hub world quite a bit. Once you've selected a stage, you'll first be sent to the hub where you can prepare before battle. You can select the character you want to use, customize their skills and abilities, change their costumes if you've unlocked any, talk with the other characters, accept side missions, craft mystic codes, etc, etc. Stage selection itself is a bit reminiscent of Shadow the Hedgehog, but without the insane requirement of having to redo every single level to unlock a new path. Basically, stages are mapped out into days, and the next day's available stages will depend on which stage you choose on the current day. Once you finish your first playthrough to day 7, you can freely choose any alternate stage you didn't select to open new routes, which allows you to see the different stories and unlock the true final stage. There are also extra battles in addition to the story mode, which can be done to unlock costumes and other goodies. I think I had around 90 extra battles unlocked at some point, so there is definitely plenty of game here. A full gallery is also included where you can find music tracks not only from Fate Extella Link, but from Fate Extra CC and Fate Extella The Umbral Star as well. It's definitely nice to have, especially to re-experience some of the amazing tracks from The Umbral Star. Fate Extella Link's soundtrack does fall short of its predecessor. There aren't as many memorable tracks, but I think it does a fine job and there are some really good tracks in here as well. Overall, my experience with Fate Extella Link has been hugely positive. Even though I've finished the main story and several extra battles, I still have the urge to go back. It's something that can be binged for hours on end, but can be equally enjoyed in short bursts whenever you have spare time. I played predominantly on Switch, and apart from some very rare instances of slowdown, it performed great with no crashes or technical issues to speak of. I also played it on PC for a little while, and I'll have a short video comparing the two versions linked in the video description. Fate Extella Link is a huge improvement over the Umbral Star, and I can wholeheartedly recommend this one to just about everyone. It's a great faux entry into the Musou genre, and it's fun whether you have experience with the Fate universe or not.
Thanks for the liking, subscribing, and the sharing!
And I'll see you all soon.